In the heart of Moon City, where the stone towers reach up like jagged teeth to bite the sky, lived a girl who was a legend before she was a woman. Her name was Ileana Morrone. She was a pure blood, a rarity among the werewolves of the Morrone line. Her skin was the color of cream, and her hair flowed like liquid moonlight down her back. But in Moon City, beauty wasn't a blessing, it was a currency. Her father, the Great Alpha, was a man whose heart had turned to flint the day his wife died giving birth to Ileana. He didn't see a daughter, he saw a treasure. During the full moon, when the rut took over and the males of the city became uncontrollable beasts driven by scent, her father didn't protect her with love. He buried her. He would lock her in the deepest, darkest dungeons beneath the castle, far from the reach of any wolf's nose. He was waiting for the day he could sell her to a rival territory for a dowry that would make him the most powerful alpha in the world. But Ileana was not like the other highborn girls. She hated the silk dresses and the etiquette lessons. From the age of 6, she would sneak away to a hidden, sapphire blue lake on the edge of the royal woods. It was there she met Shawn. He wasn't a boy. He was a shadow, a dark, powerful wolf-shaped ripple in the water. Only she could see him. Only she could hear his voice, which sounded like grinding stones and deep velvet. "You're back again, little nuisance," the shadow would growl. "I'm the princess, Shawn. You're supposed to bow," she would yap, her tiny feet splashing in the shallows. "I'm a ghost, brat. I don't bow to children who can't even shift yet." For years, this was her life. Shawn was rude, cold, and arrogant. He mocked her dreams of the world. But to Ileana, he was her only friend. She would tell him about her dolls, the mean palace maids, and her mother's silver amulet that pulsed against her chest whenever she was near the water. "If I don't find a maid as handsome as your reflection, I'll never marry," she once declared, sticking her tongue out at the lake. "Then prepare to be an old maid," Shawn replied with a dry chuckle, "because there is no one like me in your world." Chapter 2, The HIGGSD Tower. The betrayal came from within. Her personal maid, a woman named Sarah who craved the Alpha's favor, snitched. She told the Great Alpha that the princess was talking to demons in the lake. The Alpha's rage was legendary. He didn't believe in ghosts. He believed his daughter had gone mad or was possessed. To cleanse her and keep his prize safe until her wedding day, he dragged her away from the lake. "If you want to talk to nothing, you can do it in the clouds," he roared. He locked her in the highest tower, a crumbling stone spike far from the main palace. There were no windows, only a narrow slit for air. He ordered the guards to stay away. Rumors spread through Moon City like a plague. The princess is mad. The pure blood has lost her mind. Days turned into months. Months turned into a year. Ileana begged. She screamed. She promised she would never go to the lake again, but the door stayed shut. Soon, the palace forgot she existed. Her health withered. The royal meals stopped coming. She survived on the scraps left by the maids who were too disgusted to look at her. She became a mess. Her silver hair turned into a matted nest of gray. Her ribs began to poke through her skin. The silence of the tower was louder than any scream. Eventually, the light in her eyes went out. She stopped speaking entirely. For 9 months, not a single word crossed her lips. She was on the brink of death. The only person who cared was Emily, a young maid from her mother's family. Emily risked her life every week to bring extra food, even when Ileana would just stare at the wall, emotionless. One afternoon, Emily brought a gift, a tiny, tarnished hand mirror. "My lady, please," Emily whispered. "The Alpha says you are gone, but I know you are in there." Ileana ignored it at first, but her mother's amulet, the one she still wore in her rags, began to burn. A magnetic pull dragged her hand toward the mirror. She picked it up, saw her own gaunt, terrifying reflection, and threw it against the stone wall in a fit of self-loathing. The glass didn't break. Instead, it glowed. A hologram erupted from the frame. It was Shawn, but he wasn't a shadow anymore. He was a man, a lethal, breathtaking alpha with eyes like burning amber. Chapter 3, The Awakening. Shawn looked at the hollow shell of the girl he once knew, and for the first time in centuries, the Alpha King felt his heart break. "Ileana," he whispered. She didn't move. She couldn't believe it. In her mind, she had heard him calling her name every night, but she thought it was just the madness taking hold. Tears began to track through the dirt on her face, but her expression remained frozen. "I thought you were going to marry a handsome man in a gown," Shawn said, his voice trembling with a mix of fury and sorrow. "I didn't wait 1,000 years to see you die in a whole little bird." He finally understood. She wasn't just a nuisance from the lake. She was the reincarnation of Irina, his fated mate who had died protecting him during the Great War. He had been trapped in the between by the Morrone ancestors, her own family, who feared his power. Seeing her like this triggered the bond. The full moon outside the tower window confirmed it. She was his. Ileana finally broke. She let out a whimpering, animalistic sob. The words poured out of her like a flood. "How could he? My own father. He resents me because my mother died for me. He wants to sell me like a horse. I don't want to live, Shawn. I don't want to be a prize." "You aren't a prize," Shawn growled, his hologram stepping closer until he seemed to fill the room. "You are my queen, and I am going to help you burn this city to the ground." "How?" she sniffled. "I'm weak, I'm stuck." "The Morrone family locked me in the temple beneath this very tower," Shawn explained. "They used your bloodline's magic to keep me dormant, but you are a pure blood. Your blood is the key. Every week when the maid comes, she wears a silver pin, the key to the tower door. Take it. Get to the dungeon. I will guide you through the reflections." Chapter 4. The Descent. Next week, when the cruel maid, not Emily, came to drop a tray of cold porridge, Ileana didn't stay in the corner. She hid behind the door. As the maid entered, Ileana lunged with a strength she didn't know she had. She snatched the silver pin from the maid's hair. The maid kicked her, shouting, "You really have lost your head, you filthy brat," and slammed the door. But it was too late. Ileana had the pin. For a week, she practiced. She used the pin to pick the ancient lock until, click, the door swung open. The hallway was empty. Her father thought she was so broken he hadn't even bothered to place guards. That was his final mistake. She clutched the hand mirror. Shawn's voice guiding her through the darkness. "Down, Ileana, left, through the iron gate." She reached the deepest part of the dungeon, where the air smelled of ancient ozone and damp earth. She stood before a massive stone door engraved with a giant black-gray wolf. A spirit guardian appeared, its voice booming. "What do you desire?" "I desire to be free," Ileana said, her voice finally returning to its royal strength. The door groaned open. Inside was a sacred basin. "The blood, Ileana," Shawn's voice echoed through the walls. "Just a drop." She didn't hesitate. She bit her finger and let the red droplet fall into the basin. The world exploded. It was the night of the full moon. A massive shockwave of shadow filled the room. A giant black-gray wolf, the largest the world had ever seen, materialized from the darkness. Ileana fainted as the power hit her. Her own pheromones activated. For the first time, her wolf was waking up. The transformation was agonizing, bones breaking and resetting, fur sprouting like needles. Shawn, now in his human form, caught her. He wrapped his powerful arms around her, shielding her from the cold stone as she shifted into a stunning, pure white wolf. He looked at her with a hunger that had been building for a millennium. Chapter 5. Blood and Roses. The next morning, Ileana woke up on a bed of furs in the hidden temple. She felt warm. She reached out and felt something incredibly soft. She pulled it over her to cover herself, only to realize she was clutching a massive, fluffy black-gray tail. Shawn turned around, a smudge of a blush on his rugged face. "Dick, how hard it was for me to control myself last night. You were yapping in your sleep again." Ileana scrambled to cover herself with a nearby cloth. You're real. You're actually here." "I'm here," he said, stepping toward her and pinning her against the wall before she could even stand. "And I'm hungry, for revenge, and for you." Ileana tried to push him away, her heart racing. "You pervert. You were watching me for years." "I was watching a brat," Shawn countered, his voice a low vibration against her skin. "Now I'm looking at my mate. We used to do much more than this 1,000 years ago. Once you get your mana back, I'm going to show you exactly what you've been missing. He leaned in, his lips grazing her ear, then her neck. Ileana gasped, her hands trembling against his bare chest. The revenge, Shawn, we have to go. Fine, he muttered, stealing a quick, possessive kiss that left her head spinning. But don't think you're getting away that easily. Chapter 6, The Final Reckoning. They marched into the great hall during the morning feast. The Alpha Father was laughing, showing off the contract for Ileana's marriage to a cruel rival. The doors didn't just open, they shattered. Ileana walked in, wearing silver armor found in the temple, her white wolf fur peeking through the gaps. Beside her walked Shawn, a shadow of death. Father, Ileana said, her voice amplified by magic, I've come to collect my dowry. The Alpha Father stood, trembling. The ghost, it's real. Shawn didn't give him a chance to answer. He shifted midair, a blur of teeth and power. He didn't kill the Alpha. Death was too easy. He used his ancient king's authority to strip the Alpha spark from the Morrone line. The great Alpha collapsed, his wolf spirit dying inside him. He was now an Omega, the lowest of the low. You wanted to sell me for power. Ileana looked down at him with cold pity. Now you have nothing, Emily. The loyal maid stepped forward from the shadows. Take this man to the highest tower, Ileana commanded. Give him the scraps. Let him see if the silence makes him talk to ghosts. Chapter 7, The Pure Blood Queen. The war was over. Moon City was under new rule. That night on the royal balcony, the moon was massive and silver. Ileana stood looking out at her kingdom, feeling the weight of the crown. Shawn stepped up behind her, his heat radiating through her armor. He didn't say anything. He just wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her back against him. You're still a nuisance, he whispered into her hair. And you're still a pervert, she teased, turning in his arms. Shawn's eyes darkened. He grabbed her hands and pinned them above her head against the stone pillar. I told you, Ileana. The moment you were healed, I was going to do everything I've been holding back for 1,000 years. He didn't wait for her to answer. He kissed her with a desperation that spoke of centuries of loneliness. It was a make-out session that felt like a battle, passionate, hungry, and raw. Ileana's legs wrapped around his waist, her fingers digging into his shoulders as she finally found the piece she had been searching for at the lake all those years ago. I suppose, Ileana whispered against his lips, I did find a mate more handsome than a reflection. Better believe it, Queen, Shawn smiled, before pulling her back into the darkness of the royal chambers. The end.